I remember it like it was yesterday, even though I wish I could forget. We were in a sleepy town in Maine, surrounded by the dense woods that seemed to whisper secrets. My family and I were sifting through my late grandmother's possessions in her old, creaky house. She had passed away at 98, leaving behind a lifetime of memories and trinkets. The air in the house was heavy with the scent of old books and the sorrow of our loss. My dad, ever the organizer, decided to sell many of Grandma's items online. He meticulously listed each piece, from antique vases to ornate silverware, on Craigslist. The task was enormous, almost like trying to catalog a small museum. One chilly evening, as the wind howled outside like a chorus of lost souls, a man responded to our ad. He was interested in the antique china sets. There was something unsettling about him from the moment he knocked on our door. His eyes, unfocused and wandering, gave me an eerie feeling, but I shrugged it off, attributing it to the stress of the past few days. My dad, distracted by a mountain of boxes upstairs, left the man in the living room with my mother, sister, and me. I was hunched over the computer, trying to manage the influx of Craigslist messages. My sister sat quietly on the couch, her eyes wide with the innocence of youth, oblivious to my growing unease. The man examined the china with an intensity that seemed overzealous. He hovered over each piece, his breath fogging up the delicate porcelain. The house creaked and groaned around us, as if it too sensed something amiss. Suddenly, my mom's scream shattered the eerie silence, piercing through the house like a knife. My heart raced, my blood turned to ice. I looked up to see the man, his hands on my mom, trying to tear her clothes. Panic and fear gripped me like a vice. Dad, hearing the commotion, thundered down the stairs, his footsteps a rapid, heavy drumbeat. But he stumbled, sending a cascade of boxes and memories crashing down in his wake. I saw my dad burst into the room, his face a mask of fury and fear. He tackled the man with a strength I didn't know he possessed, pinning him to the ground. My mom was crying, her eyes wide with shock and terror. Without thinking, I grabbed Grandma's old, dust-covered phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking so much I could barely press the buttons. My voice was a quivering whisper as I pleaded for help. My sister, tears streaming down her face, ran upstairs to hide. The house felt like a living nightmare, the walls echoing with the sounds of our terror. The police arrived, their sirens cutting through the night, adding to the cacophony of our fear. They took the man away, his eyes still holding that unsettling look. That night, our family held each other a little tighter, the echoes of our screams and cries mingling with the howling wind outside. My dad, my hero, had saved us from a horror too grim to fully comprehend. It was a stark reminder that even in our moments of vulnerability, we must always guard the sanctity of our home and protect each other. The incident haunted us for a long time, a ghostly reminder of the evil that lurked in unexpected places. I remember it like it was yesterday, a chilling experience that still haunts my dreams. The cold, misty evening was settling in as I posted an ad to sell my beloved Kawasaki motorbike. It was a tough decision, but financial constraints left me no choice. The bike, with its sleek design and thousands of miles of memories, was priced reasonably between $3,000 to $4,000. Initially, I tried selling it through local groups, but the offers were insultingly low. So, I turned to Craigslist, hoping for better luck. The response was overwhelming. My phone buzzed incessantly with inquiries, but amid this digital frenzy, I realized the pictures in my ad did little justice to the bike. They were amateurish, taken with my old, battered phone. Then came John, the first potential buyer. A man in his late 40s, with a rugged beard and leather jacket. He exuded an aura of a seasoned biker. He scrutinized the bike, his eyes reflecting a mix of admiration and skepticism, but as we talked price, it was clear he wasn't going to meet my terms. He left, and I felt a flicker of unease. Selling this bike was going to be tougher than I thought. The second buyer, Graham, seemed different. A young man in his 20s, he arrived right after his shift, still wearing his retail uniform. His enthusiasm was palpable, his eyes lighting up as he saw the bike. But then, his demeanor shifted. As he inspected the bike, his movements were meticulous, almost surgical. He checked every nook and cranny with a precision that belied his claimed inexperience. When he finally made his offer, it was absurdly low, pointing out supposed flaws like worn brakes, a blatant lie since I had the bike serviced just a week prior. I felt a surge of anger, but also an unsettling chill down my spine. His demeanor turned cold, his eyes narrowing into a glare that sent shivers through me. I sternly asked him to leave, and he did, but not before giving me a look that I can only describe as menacing. Shaken, I continued sifting through potential buyers until Reese came along. He seemed genuine, willing to pay just $200 below the asking price. We agreed to meet at a Walmart parking lot, a neutral ground. The drive there was long, almost like a journey to an uncertain fate. As I pulled into the parking lot, my heart sank. There, under the dim light of a solitary street lamp, stood Graham. It was a trap. He waved, trying to beckon me over, but every instinct screamed danger. My mind raced. Why was he here under a false name, in a nearly deserted parking lot? I didn't stop. I couldn't. My truck rolled past him, my gaze fixed forward, heart pounding. He looked bewildered, then angry as I drove off, leaving him in a cloud of dust. I didn't look back. The relief of escaping that situation was immense, but it was tainted by a lingering fear. What were his intentions? What could have happened if I had stopped? That night, I learned a valuable lesson about the unpredictability and potential perils of dealing with strangers in private sales. The memory of Graham's intense, almost psychopathic gaze stayed with me, a haunting reminder of the horror that could have been. I remember it like it was yesterday, a chilling episode that still haunts my dreams. It all began innocently enough. I had just moved into a cramped, dimly lit studio apartment in the heart of the city, and among the few possessions I brought with me was an antique 4-poster bed, a family heirloom passed down from my late grandparents. Its intricate carvings and dark, reddish-brown hue spoke of a bygone era, but in the confines of my new living space, it felt like a colossal relic, overwhelming and out of place. Reluctantly, I decided to sell it. I listed it on Craigslist, expecting a slow response, but to my surprise, interest surged like a wave. Among the sea of potential buyers, a particular couple stood out. They were enamored with its old-world charm and seemed perfect custodians for my cherished heirloom. We agreed on a price, and they paid with a cashier's check, a detail that lent a reassuring air of legitimacy to the transaction. The day they came to collect it, an ominous gray sky loomed overhead. I watched as the bed, once a cornerstone of my family's history, was loaded onto a large rickety truck. The couple left, and a chapter in my life closed. Or so I thought. A few days later, an unsettling message arrived. The couple was struggling to reassemble the bed. One post in particular was problematic, the very same one that used to send shivers down my spine as a child. Its carving depicted a haunting scene, a woman, eyes wide with terror, being pursued by a sinister figure. Despite my reservations, I agreed to help, driven by a sense of responsibility for the bed and its new owners. Arriving at their house, a sense of déjà vu enveloped me. The neighborhood was eerily quiet, with a thick fog blanketing the narrow, twisting streets. Their home was a large, Victorian-era house, its walls lined with peeling paint and windows veiled with heavy, dust-laden curtains. Inside, the bed stood in a dimly lit room, its ominous post looming in the corner. I quickly realized the problem was minor, just a loose bolt. As I tightened it, the couple watched intently, their eyes flickering with an inexplicable mix of fear and excitement. After leaving their house, a gnawing sense of unease took hold of me. It was baffling why the man, seemingly capable, hadn't managed to fix such a simple issue. Their subsequent messages only heightened my anxiety. They spoke of the bed moving and vibrating during the night, even suggesting it was cursed.